Playground!
Hooray!
Hey! It's my song! Let's sing it! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Come on! It's gonna be fucking awesome! You know the words! It's gonna be fucking awesome! That's it! Sing! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Yeah!
What up, Coolest Geeks? It's Jesse Blaze Snider, the Coolest Geek Alive, coming to you on another Sunday morning with a coolest pick. And I got a movie for you guys, which, honestly, I think this movie is it's practically perfect in every way. I talked on Wednesday, I think, about the great lesson that I learned from the art student teacher in my art class at Hall Hills West, who had come in and taught us about what do you call it? Consistency. And that an artist who is inconsistent would never really truly produce art because everything would look sort of like out of balance with itself. But anybody who could create the same thing over and over again consistently across a canvas could make art. And that art could be stick figures and art could be really kind of rudimentary if you could get a consistent style, which is why style is really important, because style is just consistency across the page, and that's what creates, continuity in the mind when people are looking at art and they're like, wow, I'm looking into another world. So consistency in form really negates the need for perfection in every area of a thing. Not every area of a thing has to be like perfect, because it just has to be even amongst itself. And this movie is so fucking even amongst itself, like it's just so well balanced and exactly what it needs to be in every area that it touches upon. And I've been talking also, and I've said this a million times before about true art is really balanced and it has humor because life has humor in it. Some people suck the humor right out of all of their drama and their thrillers. There should always be humor in everything. All my favorite movies have really great doses of humor in them, as well as action. Everything should have action, just because action is easier to identify with for the audience. So when you can turn your anxieties that you're featuring in a drama into some amount of action, that's always a great thing. And there's actually a lot of ways to do that without like getting the stakes too high. People really need to go back and study the works of Alfred Hitchcock, who is great. There's a movie called Rear Window that I remember I had put off watching Alfred Hitchcock for so long because he just seemed lame to me. And I remember watching Rear Window and just being blown away by the kind of very simplistic nature of everything that was going on, and the very simplistic nature of the threat, but how important one's own life and one's safety and a dangerous situation can be or can feel. And so often, especially Hollywood, they like to amplify situations to such a degree that they're just unbelievable and ridiculous. And the smallest things can go a long way, and you can get small things. You can get a lot of action out of a lot of small things. You don't have to have a man and wife have a fist fight in order for it to get really tense and have some action. There's lines that you can walk up to without crossing in fiction that you should as a writer, because the stories that we remember are the ones that have this full balance on display. If you're going to say that and the couple had a fight, they might as well have a fight that's really tense and really takes it to the wall, because that tells the audience the most and connects the audience the most with what they identify in their mind with a fight. Because everybody's de-intensifying in their mind all the situations, like, well, we didn't really have a fight. I mean, we'll remember that one time we had a fight. So the way like the human mind works, the most polarizing experiences that we have in one area or another, sadness or heartbreak or love, whatever, or fighting, those are the ones that come to mind. So as close as we can get to the edge of every feeling that we're putting into the material that we make, is that's it. That hits the buttons of the audience the most. And you don't have to betray your story by giving some action to things. You can walk to a certain line just to give extra energy and extra emphasis to things that you're doing in even a drama or a thriller that doesn't necessarily have any big action type components. And what's best for me is when there's science fiction components and fantasy components. I love Masters of the Universe. It's never, well, actually the Masters of the Universe 2000s cartoon was fucking awesome. Shout out to Four Horsemen Studios, who are buddies of mine, the sculptors who did a lot of those toys. That show has so much potential because it's got fantasy and science fiction written into its DNA. It was meant to be a like Conan the Barbarian series, series of action figures, and it got switched into this cross because there was some people who were submitting things that had science fiction components. So it became this cross, this cross between sci-fi and fantasy stuff. And there's a role-playing game called Rifts that I love for that very same reason. It's a post-apocalyptic future, but like magic has intensified for one reason or another. I won't get into it, but really, really great when you have all of those components in a thing. I think that is the highest form of art. A little science fiction, a little fantasy, a little action, a little humor, a little drama, a little bit of everything. And Psycho Gorman has fucking all of those things. And it's such a study in making you care, in setting things up so that like your ending builds to something and matters. It's so good. I'm gonna try not to talk about it at once. Talk about it enough to like spoil too much of it, because I just want to like say it's fucking great. A couple trigger warnings. I mean, if you're super sensitive about religious topics, religious topics. There's a major sacrilegious scene in the movie that I didn't remember that was there, and I'm not upset with it because it fits within the narrative of the film, but involves a little girl basically breaking a cross, and hearing that like is even like offensive, like because I'm taking it out of context. In the context of the movie, essentially there are these intergalactic Templars who are essentially the bad guy because they're good, but they're viciously oppressive. And essentially it's their oppression that creates this monster who's known as like the Archduke of Nightmares, but the kids rename him Psycho Gorman in a very funny scene where they're like really trying to come up with names for a very long time. It's all very funny. I'll tell you a little bit more about it in a second. But in general, there's just like sort of a theme of religion being oppressive and that people should be able to do what they want to do. But it's a movie. But if you want to be offended by it, it is somebody going, hey, your dogma really is oppressive to me. And dogma in general is oppressive to me. And on some level, this dogma, look, we're being ruled by this dogma, and look what dogma creates. It creates monsters who rise up to destroy the dogma that they felt oppressed by, which is actually a wonderful fucking message. I mean, seriously, that's the message of the movie, ultimately. I mean, how deep is that message for what you're going to look at as a stupid comedy or whatever on some level if you watch just the trailer? And the trailer looked great, too, because I was like, fuck yes. I'm just going to like go through this list or whatever that I have so that I don't like do the thing where I talk about everything twice. Movie's a celebration of imagination. Yeah, the movie really is a celebration of imagination. It opens up with this great scene between the brother and the sister who are the main characters. And they're playing this game that they've made up with all these crazy complicated rules. And that later they make the monster learn how to play. And, I won't spoil the other things, but the movie is very genuinely funny. And there's this moment in the opening where they're playing the game, and there's all this music that's been playing, and it's like, yeah, dan, and they're throwing the balls, and it's turning the cut, and like the music is turning into like a sports action thing. They're throwing everything around, and then at a certain point, the music just cuts, and you just hear two little kids yelling and huffing and puffing and throwing balls and rolling around, and there's no music, and it's just two little kids playing, having a good time. And man, did that moment like work to make you feel what those kids were feeling, or imagine what those kids were feeling. All of the music sucked out of the room, which was being put there so you could imagine. Now it's not there. You went, oh, wow. They're making the music. Isn't that beautiful? Oh, it makes me want to cry. So there's beautiful things in this slightly sacrilegious affair. But it's really funny, and I mean, like, you kind of got to give I think completely you have to give credit, because it's the nuance of the thing. It's just there's an oppression going on, and specifically the cross that gets broken. It does have the depiction of Jesus on the cross where he's suffering, and I always felt that was an oppression myself, to see the man who we love, the man who we learn the most from, whose lessons stick with us for forever and change our lives. Like, I mean, the first time I heard "Turn the Other Cheek," I was like, I can't do that. And then, it was a slow walk to be like, you know what, I'd like to be able to say I can. And I can. But it's funny too, because even though I can now, I'm like, but I would rather have a fight. But that feeling of being oppressed by religion is real. My comic book King of Kings comes from that, and I say some blasphemous things in that book, and I know I have close friends who have felt sort of offended by the language of some of the things, but I tried to set up a metaphoric situation so that I could vent frustration that I believed we all had about dogmatic religion when it has been thrown in our face. And I think that getting over that part of it, and getting over feeling feeling insulted by the people around you, or judged, like, just that feeling of like, you're going to hell because of this thing, I think that's important to be able to vent that. And I think a lot of us don't vent that properly. So for me, I think it's important for stuff like this to exist, and I'm not against it. I'm also not a Satan worshiping asshole, and he's not a Satan worshiper, really. Like I said, it's the whole story. It just kind of seems like a demonic character, this psycho gourmet character. Essentially what the character is one of these many beings who was being viciously oppressed for one reason or another by these higher beings. But these higher beings were really no nonsense, and clearly kind of vicious and hard on everybody around them, in that like real Old Testament fire and brimstone kind of way, which I don't approve of that stuff myself. I don't think that's how my God operates. So for me, that's like a completely different universe, because that's not the universe we live in. But for somebody else, so if you do believe in that fire and brimstone God, which I think most people have another idea about it, thanks to the New Testament, but you may see it as a reality situation. But anyway, one of these beings, it finds this stone that gives it this basically infinite power, the power to do anything. And it starts tearing the galaxy apart. Somehow they bring him down, and they bury him underground, as it turns out, in the backyard of these kids, of this family, with the crystal that gave him the power binded to him, and some code to unlock it. The little girl guesses it in one try and takes the crystal, and Psycho Gorman comes out and demonstrates some of his power before the kids find him, and we find out that this stone, whoever possesses it, can control him. He's not allowed to do anything. He has to do everything they say, essentially. So now this confident little girl and this overbearing little girl is doing whatever she wants and having fun with this giant, scary monster. And he is very scary. The gore is very real. It's all practical effects for the most part. It's fucking awesome. It's it's like a really solid Guyver or Toxic Avenger, but better. I mean, it's really solid. The special effects are solid and fun. It's like the movies in the 80s, if you're like as old as I am. I'm 41 or whatever. But the 80s movies with the practical effects where you would go to some world and you'd be like, oh my God, wow, like I really feel like I went somewhere. Everything was so kind of real, even though, yeah, like some of it looked a little fake or whatever, but at the same time, the fakeness almost made it that much more real. It's like just, I can remember it. It's like imprinted on me the same way a great comic book artist does, or whatever, or a world that you make in your mind from reading a good book. So, that thing, is the basic thrust of the rest of the movie, and it gets into the absurd rather quickly, and they don't bother to explain how so much of these things could be going on without anybody saying anything or whatever. But it's a very easy explanation in all our minds that that he has the power to, well, that she could use his power to make everybody forget at any given point in time, and it was just cut out of the movie, or who needs it. But it's all it gets very absurdist very quickly, but just it's grounded enough. And the relationships, the back and forth relationships, tension and resolution with the sister, who is overbearing but like amazing and funny, and the little girl they got to play is awesome, and her little brother, who is her big brother, who she bullies but loves, and they demonstrate all that shit really well in a great way early on in the movie in so many different ways, and their relationship, they grow as people, as you would say, and then even a ridiculous relationship that the mom and dad have, which is and like talk about the payoff and stuff. The dad is this very irreverent sort of, I don't know, abstract kind of comedic performances going on from this dad. And then the mom is very grounded. Similarly, the brothers is similarly grounded. And both the mom and the brother, very good straight men to the sister and the dad. So just like fucking amazing power dynamics and stuff, that like character dynamics that they set up in the whole show and everything. Well, this is all the reasons why it works so well. It's really a great thing to study. It's genuinely funny and balanced and interesting and well thought out, and the soundtrack's great. I'm gonna talk about that before I go. And then the creation of a proper anti-hero. At the end of the day, there's a reason to root for the anti-hero, even though he's all wrong and bad and like fucked up, like in the way he's doing things. But you see and understand what the anti-hero is upset about and why the anti-hero is acting out the way they are. That's Magneto, baby. That's so many great characters of history, is when you understand why they are the menace that they are, you can empathize with the bad guy in a way that others can't. And then at that point, too, you kind of celebrate who they are, because you accept who they are, because you've accepted their pain and how they've gotten to where they are. That's why you accept Frank Castle shooting people. You're like, oh man, this is all he knows, bullets. It's so tragic. It's tragic on one level or whatever. But when you get to this level of like some ridiculous, like sprung from your nightmares demon man who can do just anything, it gets into the realm of parody. And so many people won't think certain things are funny if you don't necessarily like some gore and other things. But oh my God, it's great. It's very freaking smartly made, smartly done. I'm honestly, I'm like blown away by it watching it the second time. I mean, I was blown away by it the first time. I was just like, that was fucking amazing. My girl Julie had fallen asleep because she works hard, and we usually watch movies rather late. But it's awesome. It's the best movie I've seen in a long time, honestly. Watching it the second time was amazing. I'm tempted to show. I think I'm probably going to show it to my oldest boy. He loves gore and stuff, and I think he can handle it. It is genuinely just like probably the best comedy horror movie of all. I wouldn't even say the best comedy horror movie of all time. I think I got to put it on to like my top 10. I'm gonna have to give it like a while because I got to give 5 years of me feeling that way about something. I make all these rules for myself, so I take my like lists very seriously. Do you take your list very seriously? Write me at jesseblaze@jessesnider.com and tell me about how seriously you take your lists. I make so many fucking lists of things like that, arbitrary things. I don't know why. I find it very satisfying, meditational. Like think about like what are the best Marvel movies, and I'll make a list. Well, I guess these ones I like, whatever. So I'm just gonna go down my list. I didn't make like a lot of notes because, like I said, I don't want to spoil stuff, but wanted to share a couple things with you. Burying the Purple Light. Oh yeah, it's funny, but whatever. We'll move on. Dad is great. Mom is awesome. Straight Man. Yeah, the actors are amazing. They really are. I said that already in some ways, but I mean everybody across the board. Whoever's doing the voice and the costume thing, the special effects, makeup's awesome and fun and interesting. There's tons of different aliens because there's like this intergalactic council, so there's a whole table full of interesting aliens there, and then there's this team of pirates that show up at a certain point, and the what do you call it, the Templar, like the Galactic Templar Knight that shows up, who's gnarly and interesting and cool. You know, I mean, it's like, you know, borderline Power Rangers on some small level, but like I said, it's just perfectly campy and light and fun. So like, just don't judge a book by its cover because it is genuinely funny. They do not give away all of the best jokes in the trailer. I mean, it's just funny all the way through. I've been wondering if I should do What We Do in the Shadows soon, the movie, because I've talked to some people recently who had seen What We Do in the Shadows TV show, but hadn't seen the movie. The movie's incredible. And if you haven't seen the movie, like, people should really watch that. I haven't watched the TV show, though. So now I'm thinking maybe I should check out the TV show and see if I like that, too, because I have been hearing good things about the TV show from some people, not everybody. Some of the people who like the movie don't like the TV show, so I don't know. But I might talk about that one soon. Grandma's in Hell Forever in Morse code. Mom ends it. So fucking funny. Yeah, the kids know Morse code, and they talk Morse code through the wall in the bedroom. And she says in Morse code, when they ask something about grandma, it's about grandma being in hell forever. Just passing line. This shit was really funny. I don't know what grandma did. You don't find out what grandma did, but it's just like sort of like it was such like an overreaction. It was great. Made me really funny. Then and live forever. You know, I feel like, honestly, I've talked about it enough because like there's some other little notes that I wrote that are just like me going, oh my God, this scene's so great. And I don't want to spoil it for anybody. It's so fucking good. If you like comedy and like really genuinely have a sense of humor and no subjects off limits, you're gonna love it. If you love horror movies and no subjects off limits or gore's off limits, you're gonna love it. I mean, really, that's the biggest audience that it's for. But honestly, I think everybody should watch it. Anybody would like it. It's so fucking well made. It's just so well balanced. And I took a snap of the makers of the soundtrack, which there's a few choice songs that are, what do you call it? They pop out, like, you know, there's an 80s song at the end, and there's a rap song in the credits, and then there's a song that the kids play in their band. They have a band together. It's very adorable. And when I went to go check out the soundtrack was those 3 songs that I wanted to add to my Spotify, and I am a picky motherfucker when it comes to adding music. You know, I do my show, All Your Favorite Bands Suck, every Monday night. You check it out if you haven't checked it out yet. I did Tenacious D last week, speaking of great comedy. The devil. Well, and there's no devil in here anyway. It's just, but like I said, it just has some subtle religious themes that some people might find offensive. So I'm just trying to be like cool to people because I respect everybody's beliefs. I mean, like I don't want to push it on you, but it's like, oh my god, it's so good. And I don't think he's trying to hurt anybody's feelings. If I thought he was trying to hurt your feelings, I wouldn't recommend it. But I don't think he is. I think it's just really just trying to have fun, and try to end dogmatic thinking so we can be more open to each other and more accepting of each other, because I think it's a barrier right now, and I think he thinks it's a barrier too. I think this is something that a lot of people feel in the artistic world, and I think it's important. Anyway, the people who did the soundtrack, who are different than the writer and director of the movie, who Steve Kozlowski, I don't know, maybe I'll look him up before I finish this just to mention his name, but it was basically all the same people. Dean Ezra Rode, and then he had various teams of people, largely Martin Darrell McFeel was working on most of them. Tristan Michael something was working on most of them. And on Frig Off in particular, there's one song that is the kids' band song, and it's really got a particular sort of 80s vibe. And it is great. And they brought in this Daniel David Dean for that one. And I don't know who Daniel David Dean is, but I'm going to look him up because he's great. He did a great job with this tune, and I was just super impressed with the whole soundtrack, and I'm very hard to impress. And the rest of it, though, and like I said, Dean Ezra Rode and his team, they did, the rest of it was all the score. So they did the score for the movie, which is great. It's really a great score. Just all the swells and all the orchestral kind of music, if you don't understand what a score is. And then also when it was time to do the melodic stuff, they did the melodic, lyrical things, and everything's great. The rap song at the end is just all about the plot of the movie, and it's hysterical. It's really just really, really funny and good, really well done. And the 80s kind of James Dio sounding short 80s tune that's at the end is great, that they do without the help of Daniel David Dean. And Frig Off with the help of Daniel Dean is fucking great. And like I said, I'm going to have to look him up because I was super impressed by all that. Honestly, I can't gush about the movie enough. We need more things that are being made in such a loving way as this film is being made right here, and in such a free way, honestly, to bravely to bravely break convention, say something blasphemous, and not be afraid to like make these jokes and go, hey, come on, like, there's nothing's off limits. Let's have a sense of humor about everything. Like, isn't this cool? Like, kind of scary shit to think about. Yeah, the guy's name is Steven Kostanski, and he is awesome. Steven Kostanski. I am blown away by this movie. Apparently, he made a movie called The Void. I'm gonna have to find these things, and a movie called special effects makeup. Wait, does he do special effects makeup? Holy crap! Let's see him as a director. As a director, Day of the Dead TV series in 2021, VHS 94 in 2021, and then before Psycho Gorman, he did a show called Divorced Dad in 2018. I gotta watch this stuff. Leprechaun Returns in 2018, Chow Boys, An American Folktale is a short, The Void in 2016, ABCs of Death he worked on, Biocop, Father's Day, Manborg, Heart of Carl, Laser Ghost, Insane Phrenia. Man, this guy's been doing some stuff for a while. I wonder if he's been this good for a while, because holy shit, is this movie good. I look forward to digging into his material. I hope you just heard some of that stuff. Look him up, man. He wrote it and directed it, and it's great. Really is great. I'm like just super impressed. And he's in the special effects department too. He's doing makeup department. So he's a special effects dude doing special effects, prosthetic artist, prosthetic makeup artist. Oh my God, no wonder I love him. Prosthetic makeup artist for Suicide Squad, Crimson Peak, Clown, Girl House, ABCs of Death, Hannibal, The Mortal Instruments, City of Bones, Silent Hill, Revelation, Defiance, Resident Evil, Father's Day, Manborg, The Divide. Oh man, I'm so excited to dig into this dude. Capote, uncredited, prosthetics. Oh, this is so awesome. So awesome. I'm so cool. I'm so excited to dig into him. This is just like the best. All right, cool. Well, anyway, Next week, I'm coming back to you, and I'm going to continue talking about William Goldman. I was thinking about maybe doing it today instead of Psycho Gorman, but I was really excited to watch some movie, so I watched it yesterday. I actually fell asleep. I was really, well, not I fell asleep, but I went to sleep at a certain point. I was like, I don't want to miss the movie. I paused it, and I finished it this morning, and it's so damn good. It's so damn good. It's so damn good. You really got to go check it out. Like I said on the show, I was going to do more William Goldman, and I'm probably going to do another hour chatting about him because he's just incredible, man. He's won 2 Oscars, one for Best Original Screenplay and one for Best Adapted Screenplay. And even the original screenplay that he wrote, that was Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, which is based on real guys and based, granted, it's very original from a lot of the stuff, but there was a lot of things that got cut out that were really good that were from the truth of the matter. But fucking incredible movie if you're not a Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid fan. And then the other one was All the President's Men. If you're not a fan of that one's a great one. Though harrowing experience for William Goldman. Apparently he had to write like insane amount of drafts. He said it was the most amount of drafts he'd ever done for anything. It just sucked all the life out of it for him. He wished he never took the job. But he won an Oscar for it. And adapting things is really like the reason why I came to appreciate him so much. And on this show, we always talk about that, like the right way to adapt them, the right way to do horror and science fiction and all this stuff. Like this movie, Psycho Gorman, this is the right way to do it. And William Goldman, he really led the way because he came from the novel world. He came from novel writing. He also was a playwright in smaller measure, but he did some plays. He did an adaptation of Misery as well, and he wrote Misery. He did the adaptation of Misery for Stephen King. He did a lot of adaptations for Stephen King. Many adaptations across the board, and he was successful at adapting things all the time that people said were unadaptable because he was a novelist himself and he knew how to lovingly adapt things and get the most out of them. And he adapted The Princess Bride, which I talked about this week, his own novel. And his own novel is fiction. It is the greatest book ever written, as far as I'm concerned. If you haven't read it, you should. That's what we talked about last week. But this week, I'm going to talk about like another, I don't know, at least a dozen things that were written by him that are awesome, incredible. You should check it out. And yeah, that's all there is to it. I love you guys. I don't know. What else should I say? I got to give you the emails, jesseblaze@jessesnider.com. Sorry, I've been feeling a little under the weather. I didn't get a lot of sleep the past few days. I was helping a friend, and it was a little bit life-draining. You ever help a friend, and it just, like, wipes you out? Oh, my God. This really wiped me out. I mean, I love him, but, like, it really wiped me out. Anyway, next time I see you, I'm sure I'll have a little bit more energy, even though clearly I have a lot of energy for Psycho Gorman. It's fucking awesome. Or PG, for short. Anyway, thank you for listening to my show. I hope you join me again next Saturday, and again this coming Wednesday for another ass-kicking episode of the Coolest Geek Alive. Love you guys. See you next time. Peace. You've been listening to Coolest Geek Alive with me, your host, Jesse Blaze Snider. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe for more excellent geek culture content. Thanks for listening.
It's my favorite part. Isn't that heavy? I'll play that. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Coolest alive. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Stay with your tribe. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Revenge of the Geeks. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Week after weeks. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Laughing with you. It's gonna be fucking awesome. And crying sometimes too. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Spelling it out. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Making you shout. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Talking some shit. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Living the shit. My voice gonna be fucking awesome. Foot in our mouth. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Get in the mouth. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Tell all your friends. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Call right on text. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Raising fucking awesome. Fucking awesome. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Just wait. You'll see. You'll all see.
You'll all see.